A few different topics from this past NFL weekend. We'll talk Chiefs. Chiefs now sitting at 2-3. Are the Chiefs in trouble? I also want to talk about the Bengals' decision to trade for Joe Flacco as their quarterback with Joe Burrow still injured. And then I also want to finish off by touching on the Philadelphia Eagles, their loss, and sort of their whole situation when it comes to passing the ball, running the ball, their receivers potentially being frustrated with their role, things like that. But to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs, this is a team that is usually consistently one of the most dominant teams in the NFL. And so when they start off 2-3, it makes you notice, and you ask yourself the question, like, is this year going to end up differently in the end for the Kansas City Chiefs, or is this just gonna be a little blip on the radar where come December and January, it doesn't even matter that the Chiefs had a slow start? And if we look back to that game last night, I think the reason the Chiefs lost that game, it's in large part due to Trevor Lawrence just actually playing incredible football, especially on that final drive, because the Chiefs offense, they're able to get up 28-24 with a little less than 2 minutes remaining. And the Chiefs defense just needed one stop and they would have won that game. And Trevor Lawrence goes out there and throws a couple insane passes. There's that one pass interference in the end zone by the Chiefs, and that allows the Jaguars another opportunity to score. And then we all know, if you watch a game last night, Lawrence falls down, is able to get back up and runs in for the touchdown. And so the Chiefs lose that game because there was not enough time left on the clock for Mahomes to do what Mahomes typically does, which is, lead these game-winning drives. And so now looking at the Chiefs at 2-3, I think the biggest difference for this Chiefs team now versus last year, even the past two seasons, is the past two seasons, this Chiefs team was carried by a top 5 defense each of the past 2 seasons. And so far this year, that just has not been the case. In 2024, they had the 4th best scoring defense in the NFL, the Chiefs. In 2023, they had the 2nd best scoring defense in the NFL. And so far this season, the Chiefs defense is the 13th best scoring defense. And so when you're a Chiefs team whose defense is playing, more middle of the road and not top tier, you need your offense to come through more. And the Chiefs, their offense has been a little better than last year. They're about 25 points per game, which is 12th in the league. Last year they were 15th. I do think that because this Chiefs offense has dealt with different injuries to different players to start the season, especially if Rashee Rice with a suspension, he'll be back in 2 weeks. I just think that the way this defense is playing, a defense who allows a drive there to Trevor Lawrence in the end to win that game, you have to have this offense elevate to another level if the Chiefs want to continue to be that dominant force, if the defense doesn't take that step forward. And we saw it earlier in Mahomes' career, back when Tyreek Hill was there. The Chiefs' offense was consistently one of the most explosive, one of the best offenses in the entire NFL. And I think they can get back there this year once Rashee Rice is back. I think Rashee Rice is one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. And once Rashee Rice is back, I think we could see this Chiefs offense be a top 5 unit in the NFL. And so if the Chiefs want to continue the streak of, winning the AFC West 9 straight years, which is an insane accomplishment, they're going to have to, play better football in the end and not end up, starting off 14-0 and then having the Jaguars come back and win a game like that. And if you look at the AFC West currently, it's not like, this early in the season that the Chiefs can't get back on top, because they're not that far behind. They're 2-3 currently. The Chargers are 3-2. The Broncos are 3-2. The Chargers the past 2 weeks have not looked like the same team that they looked like the first 3 weeks, because I think most people after 3 weeks, it was literally looking like, wow, this Chargers team may be, one of the best teams in the league. And then they lose to the Giants. They lose this past week. And so the Chiefs can still very easily win the AFC West. I think with Rashee Rice back and this offense getting to a whole nother level, I think it's possible. So I'm not really concerned about, one loss like they had last night to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think that I saw that game and thought to myself, man, that the Chiefs are done. This is no longer going to be a competitive team. At the end of the day, when you have Patrick Mahomes, your team has a different belief, and some of these teams or some of these games from early in the season are just not going to matter come December and January playoff time. And so I think that around that time, I think the Chiefs will still be one of the more dangerous teams in the NFL. The question will be, will they get that home field advantage come playoff time? Because Mahomes is about 14-2 at home in the playoffs. And so if they don't get a home playoff game, and let's say they start on the road, that's a much different way for Mahomes and the Chiefs to be trying to get back to a Super Bowl. So I don't think it's the end of the world for the Chiefs. I think that when you have Mahomes, I think that things in the end will get righted here. And then I also want to talk about the Bengals trading for Joe Flacco. Now, I personally, I really wanted to see the Bengals make some kind of move at quarterback. And the main reason is I have Jamar Chase and Chase Brown on my fantasy team. And so, of course, watching that the past few weeks, it was really ugly. Thankfully, this week, Jamar Chase put up like 29 points. In the end, Browning just started throwing balls up to Jamar, and he ended up scoring a lot. But I wanted to see the Bengals make a move. But this is not the type of move I wanted to see the Bengals make. Joe Flacco, is he an upgrade from Browning? I would say yes. How much of an upgrade? Barely, if much. I mean, not much at all. You look at Browning this year in 4 games, it's been really bad. 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And then you have Flacco this year, 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And you throw on top of that, the Bengals offensive line has been one of the worst offensive lines in football. They're currently 25th in pressure rate allowed. And so you're putting a slow, old Joe Flacco behind a bad offensive line. And this Bengals defense is one of the worst in the NFL. 30th ranked scoring defense in the NFL. So if you're the Bengals and you're looking at the fact that Joe Burrow is, I think the time he had his toe injury, turf toe, they said about 3 months, and there was even a chance, I think there's still a chance he wouldn't return, but it sounds like about 3 months would puts it at late December. And so looking at the AFC North, you're telling me the Bengals currently 2-3. They started off hot. It's been bad with Browning. I just do not have much faith in the Bengals being able to somehow survive, somehow end up being in playoff position with the 30th ranked scoring defense in the NFL, with Joe Flacco as your quarterback, who has 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and one of the worst offensive lines in football. The only hope is that Joe Flacco can just, find Jamar Chase, find T. Higgins. They have a ton of weapons. I just don't think this is a team that is going to be competitive. So that's why I don't get this move for Flacco. I even saw from Diana Rossini reported earlier today that the Bengals did not reach out to the Giants to make any call for Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson. And I think in my mind, if you add Russell Wilson to that offense or Jameis Winston, I think that gives you a better chance than Joe Flacco because he's just not the same quarterback he once used to be. And so that's why, looking at this move, it's probably cheaper when it comes to what you're having to trade away to get Joe Flacco because they basically moved from like a 6th-round pick to a 5th-round pick, the Browns. And so I understand the Browns trading away Flacco when you have Dylan Gabriel and you have Shadur Sanders. I think that's probably a smart move just to move on, stick with the rookies if you're the Browns. But for the Bengals, I just don't think that bringing Flacco in is honestly doing too much. It almost feels like, I almost wonder if you're the Bengals, do you really think that Joe Flacco gives you a chance at playoffs to get there until Joe Burrow returns? I just honestly don't see that happening. I almost wonder if they just knew that they had to do something, and so they make a move that's the least expensive just to say they did something. So I honestly don't get that move. I don't think the Bengals, I would not predict the Bengals making the playoffs and being in a position to sort of hand Joe Burrow a playoff caliber team by the time he returns, which is very unfortunate because the Bengals, when Burrow is healthy, they have one of the best offenses in the NFL. So it's sort of just an unfortunate situation when you lose your quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks in the league, for about 3 months. Now, the final thing I want to touch on here today is the Philadelphia Eagles, who lose that game to the Broncos in the end. They're up 17-3 in the fourth quarter, and Bo Nix is able to come in the fourth quarter, play really good football, and win that game. And looking at the Eagles scenario, for the first few weeks, the talk was, You look at the offense, you look at the passing attack, they were running the ball a ton, and guys like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith were not getting a lot of opportunities. And I understand if you're a receiver and you're one of the best receivers in the NFL and you're going out there playing on Sunday and you're not getting targeted much, if at all, and you're not racking up those yards and catching passes. It has to be frustrating when you know how good of a wide receiver you are. And so I understand A.J. Brown, potentially being frustrated about that. And then, you look at this game here, and they totally flipped the script. The Eagles totally decided to go pass heavy, and it looks like, that would likely be in result of just the noise that came from, just not targeting A.J. Brown, and then it looks like he's frustrated. Then the Eagles target A.J. Brown. They target Devontae Smith. They pass the ball 38 times. They run the ball only 11 times overall. And it's sort of ironic that the first game they try to get pass heavy, which I think most of us wanted to see because the offense had been so boring. They lose the game. It's just pretty ironic that right when they try to switch it up and do something different, they end up losing the game. And it's not like this offense had been dominant. They just have had really good defensive performances. And so they haven't had to do a ton offensively. But when your defense doesn't hold up and you give up points in the end there, like the Eagles did against the Broncos, this Eagles offense is going to have to find a way to, call better plays, have a better strategy, because when you have Jalen Hurts, who's a very good quarterback, you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, you can't be putting up the type of numbers that the Philadelphia Eagles are currently putting up. Here's some of the numbers. The Eagles are currently 30th in yards per game. They're the 14th best scoring offense, so about middle of the road. 29th in yards per play. 29th in rush yards per play. So you have Barkley and you're 29th in rush yards per play. So I think looking at, Kevin Patullo, their offensive coordinator, I just don't know if he hasn't really been doing a great job with the different types of weapons you have here. Like if you would put like Matt LaFleur as the play caller with this Eagles offense, I can only imagine how explosive this Eagles offense would be. And so they're going to have to get things figured out. They're still a very good team. They've barely lost in the past 20 games. They're now 4-1. They're still a very good team. But if they want to get back to a Super Bowl once again, then they're going to have to figure out these offensive issues, because I think what they've put out there so far is definitely not going to cut it. That's pretty much all I wanted to share today. Appreciate you guys who have stopped in, and I'll see you guys next time.